So we're looking today at Teach Us to Pray. This is a series, Voice of the Mystic series, part 6. And it's kind of a space theme today, an outer space, which is really inner space. There's no place where inner space leaves off and outer begins. I love that picture of Voyager that took when it was going out, and Carl Sagan had them turn it around and take a picture of the Earth. It was a little blue dot, where you saw we're in outer space. We're already there. It's not like I would like to go to outer space sometime. You're already there. So when you think of the God, and we associate God with the universe. We often make that change of vocabulary. And what that means is it is part of us. We're not just looking at the universe, we're the universe looking at itself. When we think of it that way, it kind of helps shift our thinking around. But though we often associate prayer with religious dogma, it's a fundamental human practice, not confined by such boundaries. We engage in it whether we are aware of it or not. When we are aware, we can think of prayer as a dialogue with the universe, a powerful tool for personal transformation. This isn't about appealing to a distant deity. It's about cultivating a relationship with the boundless source of energy that animates all things, including ourselves. So kind of a long phrase, but this guy's standing there looking up to the sky, and I did not intend for this picture to indicate God's up there someplace. But God is up there, but he's also down here. He's not only up there, he's that which is doing the looking, which is us. So I like that idea, because you say, where does the universe begin? It's every place. It's wherever we are and every place else. So it's like when you think that way, you start thinking in terms of unity. You start thinking in terms of oneness. It's like it's not something I will someday achieve. I'm already there. Whatsoever you ask for in prayer, believe you've received it. Well, we're not asking to be a part of the universe in our prayer, more than likely. But that is a prayer. To start with that idea that I'm already in that living presence that we call God, or that we call the universe, or whatever, I'm there already. And I'm part of it. I'm an expression of it. And that's even a little tricky to say as well, because expression would imply something separate. But we're not separate. We're not separate from it at all. So that's where we go with prayer. We think in those terms. When I pray for something, I'm praying in the immediate energy of the answer. When you have that mindset, when you have that idea, you are tuning into what it is you would like to see. And we don't always know what we would like to see. We know we want the thing to go away, whatever it is we're praying about. But it's not always up to us how it goes away. And that should be pretty fine, because sometimes it goes away in ways that lead you to something better. It opens you up to something else that you weren't looking for. So it's just the idea that I'm already in the finished universe. And I keep coming back to this idea that I think that we're going to get to a cosmology one of these days, back to the steady state. It's always been here, didn't have a beginning, doesn't have an end. It just is. And it will always be. And, we go back to Genesis. Genesis says there was a beginning. When we talk about God as life, we're talking about, I've asked the question, is there life on the moon? And as long as we're not there, there doesn't appear to be. But if God is omnipresent, everywhere present equally at the same time, and God is life, that means there is life on the moon. But what's the difference? There is not an organism, a life-supporting organism, but they're still life. So we think in those terms. God is not absent any place. When we think of life forms as life, that's what science, they try to figure out, when did all this begin? And what they're really saying is, when did the life form begin? And we can kind of know that. We sort of know that. It began at a very different form than most of us, kind of an amoeba, creepy, crawly, ugly thing that you wouldn't want to encounter today. But, that's your ancestor. So that's, I think all that happened. I think there's an evolution of that side of the life form. And it's a very interesting one, I think. But that's not when life began. That's when the life form began. The reason there's no life form on the moon is because it is not an atmosphere that will sustain it. The life form has to have a specific atmosphere. And they say, Earth is in a sweet spot in terms of its relation to the sun and, all the things that are required for life to happen. It's the Goldilocks zone, they call it. It's just right, just the perfect place. If you're a little bit further out, it won't work. If you're a little bit further in, closer to the sun, it won't work. So we're in that sweet spot. But that doesn't mean that's the only place life is. That's the place life forms are. And we are a form, we're expressions in a body right now, but that's not us. It's the life form that we inhabit at this time. So in other words, we're connected to a much bigger picture. And that's what we want, that's the attitude we want to have in prayer. It's like when you pray about something, don't think I'm here, God's up there and got a big box of answers, and he's going to pull the answer I need out of that box and toss it down to me if I'm good, if I walk the straight and narrow and do all the stuff I'm supposed to. But that's not, I don't think, how Jesus taught this whole system. It's a living system. Grapes or thorns don't produce grapes. There's a connection. If you're thinking all the time from a thorn perspective and trying to get grapes, you probably won't have much luck. But if you understand that I am now setting up a vibration that's either drawing to me that which is for my highest good or repelling it. And that's what prayer is all about. It's a focused way of drawing it to us. It's a way of being conscious of what we are using this great faculty of mind for. So the first step to understanding prayer is to acknowledge it as a twofold process of releasing and affirming. We make a conscious effort to release the negative energies that cloud our spirit, the fear, the doubt, the anger, the resentment that binds us. I think it was Peter that asked Jesus, how often should we forgive somebody? And Jesus said 70 or 7 times, and Jesus said 70 times 7. What that means, or how I take that, is it's not about thinking about a specific relationship with a person. If you are negatively reacting to somebody who's in the prison, who's in the jail, who's locked up, when it's you that is negatively reacting, he's saying that that kind of energy will hold you down to a place you don't want to be. And we don't forgive because a person deserves it. We forgive because we deserve it, because we want that freedom. So the 70 times 7, it's just a way to exaggerate, but to make a point. Do it until you truly release whatever it is that's going on, in a negative way. Fear, doubt, and anger, resentment, those 4 things. Have any of you ever experienced those things? None of you have. That's pretty good. I guess I'm a good teacher. In case you have, you know what it's like. And you know what your world is like when you're there. So Do we need more life to come to get those things to go away, or do we need better choices? Do we need to look at ourselves and how we're using our minds in different ways? So the thing I think Jesus taught is the ball's always in your court. There's always something you could do. Because the things we worry about most, and I've said this many times, that we only worry about the things we can do nothing about, which means it's totally ludicrous to worry. If you can't do anything about it, well, I can do something about it. I'll worry. I'll worry myself sick. That's something I can do. So you do that, and you're free to do it, because God doesn't yell down, You're kind of doing something to yourself that you may not like. But that's a prayer too. When we fall into those states of mind, and we all do it, and it's, I think you do. I think you're a bunch of liars is what I think. I think you need to be here. No, I don't think you're that. But if we always blame the other person, I'm angry because of them. And when you really look at that, okay, so they are running some control inside of your brain or inside of your emotional room. They're the Wizard of Oz running the levers behind the curtain of you. It's your life that they're controlling. And in a sense, that's true. We're letting others do that, or we're letting circumstances do that. It's not a sign of failure. But when we recognize we're doing it, then we can do something about it. Because we're not going to fail ourselves to death, I don't think. I think no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. But it's important for us to say, why would I want to give up this anger? Why would I want to give up this resentment, this doubt, this fear, whatever? Am I doing it for somebody else, or am I doing it to set myself free? And then I can see them, or whatever it is, from a new perspective. I can realize that there really is life on the moon. There really is life in this situation. It does not have to resolve for me to be okay. And I think that's a huge step that we make. Visualize these emotions dissolving, that fear, anger, all that stuff, flowing away like stagnant water, leaving behind a sense of lightness and clarity. Imagine a dark, murky pool choked with weeds, slowly clearing the water, becoming crystalline, reflecting the sun. This cleansing allows us to turn our expectations to the positive. So the first step is the release. The old Unity teachers called it denial. That was the word they used, but there's so many things connected with denial. It's like I'm angry, but I really don't have a problem. I'm denying that state of mind that I'm in. We don't want to do that. We want to release that. We want to deny its right to inhabit our being. That's what we're doing. We're saying no. And it's a very powerful thing. And I think a lot of times we sit down only on the affirmative side of prayer. It's like, here's what I want, here's what I want. But it's more productive to think about what don't you want that you're doing right now. That's the release, that's the denial side of prayer. And what it does, it opens the mind to a more creative state. It happens in the twinkling of an eye. You can release that energy and have a whole new mindset in just a matter of moments. It's very possible to do that. This affirmative turning is an intentional mental and emotional acceptance that greater good is now unfolding for yourself and for all concerned. If you can't be specific about desired conditions, you can be specific about how you want to feel when your issue is resolved. Envision the emotional outcome you wish to experience. You want peace, harmony with others, and the abundance of those things and conditions that you associate with success. So as I said, I think it was last week, that your prayer is answered when you feel everything's okay, even though nothing's changed. That's the most powerful place you can be, to actually get to that point where you have so released it that you're okay. No matter what happens out there, you're okay. And if you can just focus on that side, probably most of us, in most cases, that would be the only thing we'd have to do, is the denial side, the letting go. Because it's sort of like if you let go, you're making room for something to flood in, and that's new ideas, new inspiration. And what you want to do, it's like, I think I've shared this story about the little girl I met on a ski lift. She was a 5-year-old girl and skiing over at Copper Mountain, and their instructor, there was about 20 of them, and the instructor asked if we'd accompany them up the ski lift. And so I had a little 5-year-old, Katrina, I think her name was, very talkative. I knew all about her 5 years of living, that journey up the mountain. But she said they were from out of state and they came here every year to ski. Well, I can't imagine how many years she came to ski, but she was taking lessons. But I said, have you been to other places in Colorado? She said, I don't need to. You can see it all from up here. And we stopped talking. Thought, I'm talking to somebody wiser than me, so. But that was really a profound statement because it has such metaphysical implications. Like the higher you go in yourself, the more you can see, and you don't need to go over there. You don't need all those things you think you want sometimes, because you can see it all from right here. That's really what prayer does. It elevates our awareness. Where you thought the problem was there, I can't be happy in my life right here because the problem's in this same place. You get high enough, you're in the same state, but you can see a lot further. And that's a very powerful way to think about it. We're in the exact right place. That's a good affirmation. Wherever you are, you're placed exactly perfectly right. And that's maybe part of us doesn't want to accept that because we're in that here or there consciousness. And, I've talked for years about you can only be here, right? And you designate some point over there as there. When you go over there, where are you? You're here. You can never get out of the here. So what's going on in the here? What's going on in the here and now? And I would say, well, monitor your thought and your feeling, your emotion, and say, what would you like to have going on here? The only place you can ever be. Well, I'd like to have a better experience. Okay, so let's make some better choices. That's what it comes down to. And it's not just an airy-fairy, way of thinking. It's very practical. Perhaps you see yourself radiating joy, surrounded by supportive people, your goals effortlessly manifesting. Hold this vision firmly in your mind and heart, allowing the feelings of gratitude and fulfillment to permeate your being. This is proactive engagement with the energy of the universe. So we do want to go beyond the releasing, but the affirmative side of, I think I wrote that in my book, first book in 1990, that it's a very natural influx. The positive is the influx. The affirmative is the influx. When the pain stops, you feel better, naturally. So the denial side, the releasing side is, I think, critical. It's one of the most important. Emily Cady dwelt on that quite a bit in her book, Lessons in Truth, about the very thing that might be standing in your way is a lack of forgiveness toward somebody or towards yourself. It's a negative state of mind. And I've thought about that a lot and wondered, are there things I'm harboring that I'm not even aware of? And obviously there are. There are a lot of things. Have you ever been, well, like this morning, we were driving over here and I was at the new roundabout that they're about to finish. And I was waiting for people to come around. Well, the guy behind me he thought I should jump out there, and he was in a hurry, so he honked at me. And I had some evil thoughts about that guy. It was instant. And I said something to him, but I'm not going to tell you what it was. I wouldn't tell him what it was, frankly. But where does that come from, that kind of thing? It's like that's an affront to my being, my choice making. I'm trying to not have a wreck, I don't want to pull out in front of somebody. I'm trying to be courteous. He said, "No, you're not. You're trying to sightsee or something. You're up to something that none of us other normal people would do." But I've been the honker too. You ever honked at somebody? So I know what they're going through. All right, that's part of having a body. That's just part of the deal. The power of effective prayer lies in faith. As the saying goes, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it. Feel the reality of your desires already fulfilled. This isn't about wishful thinking. It's about aligning your energy with the vibrational frequency of your desired outcome. And I like graphics like this because we talk about the vibration and all. We set up a vibration. And that's really true. You can encounter somebody that you don't even know and pick up a feeling about them. And, they may be having a bad day over something. The guy behind me honking his horn might have had somebody in his car and needed to get him to the hospital. Who knows? But we set up a vibe that you can pick up, you can feel. And we put that out. So just imagine your thinking, your feeling, just your whole being is like a radar that's sending out these vibes all the time. And your outer experience is responding to that in ways that look exactly like that. If you're putting out brambles, if you're coming from a bramble mentality, you're going to put out brambles. You're going to only see brambles. That's what Emerson said. You can only see what you are. And that's not from an idealistic point of view, but from wherever I am in consciousness today, that's how I'm going to see that day. That's how I'm going to see that life. That's the kind of experience I'm going to have. You can only see what you are. I read that years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I don't always practice it and don't always remember it when at critical moments, but I think it's exactly right. You can only see where you're seen from. And that's what the world looks like. So that's a pretty powerful thought. This unwavering conviction is the engine that powers the prayer. See yourself already living the reality you desire, feeling the joy, the satisfaction, sense of accomplishment. The universe responds to the vibrational frequency you emit, and faith is the key to tuning your frequency. The problem with this is you'd have to do that every moment. You don't just do it once. That's kind of how I used to think, that I'm going to read that last book and get enlightened and that'll be it, kind of thing. I've been enlightened, actually, and it lasted 5 minutes, and then you fall into another place. We've all been enlightened. We've all had moments where we felt totally above everything that was going on. And that is truly enlightenment, because you're not being directed by those things. You are in it, but not of it. In that world, but not of it. And that is enlightenment. It's the ability to be yourself under any circumstance. And I have been able to do that. I'm doing it right now, actually. I feel like I'm very much myself when I'm talking to you guys. That's why I do this. I love doing that. I can leave here and get honked at again and go to a different place, but for right now, what we want to do is say, I want to think positive for the one last time. I'm going to get it from now on. And so if that doesn't, I guarantee you it's not going to happen. You're not going to ever achieve that, ever. Jesus got pretty angry at people selling things in the temple, and he was a pretty advanced soul. Started turning over, he didn't just turn over tables, he made whips of cords and whipped everybody. And he drove them out. I mean, that's a story. I don't think that actually happened. They say the inside of the temple where he would have been is the size of like 28 football fields. Huge. So he wouldn't go cleanse, that size of a place. But I like that story. I like the times that the gospel writers tell us he suffered, in the sense of he was angry or he was afraid. Gethsemane, prayed 3 times for that cup to be taken away. If I was in his place, I would have prayed about 25 times for it to be taken away, because that, was a pretty serious thing. But I like those kinds of stories because I go there too. And that doesn't mean I'm a failure because I do. It just means I've let go of a level of living that's possible for me, but I'm not choosing to do it, not choosing to be there at that moment. But you know what happens? You bounce back, you come back. There's always the next moment. You can only live in this one, but you can do something about the next one when you arrive, when you're there, which is this one. But it's we have that tendency to want to get it all fixed from now on, and it just doesn't work that way. Well, maybe it does. Have any of you achieved that? Because if you have, I want you up here, and I'm going to sit back and listen to how you did that. But I have found myself just in this body, there are so many things that go on, and so easy to forget that we're spiritual beings. But you know what? It doesn't matter that you forget. You can go out in the far country just as far as you want to go until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, that you come to yourself and come home, turn around and come back. Doesn't mean you won't go back out into another far country. There's 4 directions you can go, actually. So, and we will probably take them all in this lifetime. Okay, prayer changes us. It refines our consciousness, expands our awareness, and aligns us with the universal flow of life, love, power, and intelligence. It reminds us of our inherent power, our connection to something greater, and our ability to shape our own reality. Embrace the practice of prayer not as a ritual, but as a profound act of self-discovery and empowerment. Allow it to be your constant companion on the path to a more fulfilling and authentic life. I think that's a very important idea. Think of prayer. Right now we're all praying. We may not have our eyes closed and our hands folded, but we're all praying. We're all setting up a vibration by how we think, how we feel, where our level of expectation is. All of the things that are going on in us now, that is prayer. So to do a formal prayer, you just become conscious of what you're doing. And if you're hanging on to negative things, you let it go. And if you are thinking about something you would like to achieve, I think about my book and I'm envisioning that, how that will feel when it's done and how it will feel when it becomes a bestseller. You think in those terms, and that's not leaving the now. It's thinking in the now about something you want to see unfold. So everything functions in the now and has to answer for how it functions. So prayer is being conscious of how you're functioning, making choices. Thank you for watching this week's program. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with others. We want to reach as many people as we can, and we appreciate your help. We have many subjects in our video lineup, so feel free to take a look. If there's a topic you don't see and would like me to address, just put it in the comment section. I'd love to know what's on your mind. Thanks again for your interest in independent unity, and have a wonderful week.